Are you excited? I'm excited. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I made these. They are little tiny paludariums. They are super small. I think the smaller one down there is like 20 centimeters by 20 centimeters. That one's like 30 centimeters by 20 centimeters, something like centimeters, something like that. But they have a very, very noticeable Last of Us vibe to them. It wasn't deliberate. It just kind of happened and we went with it. Check those out. How cool is that? I have a drip. Check out my drip. I love saying that. Check out my drip. That is a little tiny pump that I've installed in there, trickling the water down the little rocks that we've actually glued onto the skull. It looks more and more like a dog skull to me. It's supposed to be a dinosaur, you know. That's a dinosaur. We have live plants, we have low iron glass, super, super fun to make. This one here, which is a human skull, it's plastic, it's okay, it's plastic humans, and little bits and stuff sticking out of it. So much fun to make. In this video, I'm going to show you how we did this, how you connect all the stuff together. It is so much fun. I may even sell these if you're local, and I might make some more because it's that much fun. Let's jump to the things. And this is the Zen glass tank that we have used for this aquascape. It is low iron glass, so it's really, really, really clear. You can see by that, it's like a clear blue sort of look through it, as opposed to the greeny color of your normal aquarium glass. It is 30 centimeters long by 18 centimeters by 12 centimeters high, and it has that really cool false bottom to it, which obviously, as you've seen, when all the substrate is in there, it looks like it's hovering above your desk. Very, very cool. So that is the tank. We are going to use bits and pieces of golden vine again. So I'll probably use more than what I see here. I'm not too sure yet. I haven't actually done the tank yet in this part of the video, but you have seen what it looks like. I am using Ceru rock again. We're going to break some of these rocks down into smaller rocks, and we're going to glue these rocks together to make a really cool structure. I'm going to use that. That is a fake dinosaur skull. So I reckon that's going to be our centerpiece, maybe on an angle like that. I'm not entirely sure yet. And I'm going to run a little tiny pump. We have these awesome little Dimax low voltage pumps that just plug into a USB. You get a little power adapter as well. It is a tiny, tiny little pump. It is going to sit in the corner there, and we're going to try and hide that with the rocks and that, and run some sort of tubing, maybe airline tubing, up the actual dinosaur skull, and then let the water trickle out. And I think if I get it on a cool angle like that, and I have all my rocks and stuff underneath, it should be an awesome effect. I'm thinking hairgrass, maybe Monte Carlo, a few plants coming out of the water. I'm not entirely sure yet, but hopefully it'll look pretty awesome. Okay, I thought it would be easier to just show you how to glue two rocks together like that. So you want to find like a smooth part of the rock on each side, so something that's going to work, and then what it's going to look like that, if you're happy with that, and you can sort of add that to a different stack and that. So you're going to get yourself a little bit of tissue paper. You're going to roll that into, I probably got too much, into like a little flat, dense bit. And you want that in between the two rocks, but you still want the rocks close on touching, because what's going to happen is the super glue is going to absorb into that paper, and that's going to fuse both of the rocks together. So once you've got it like a flat bit like that, and you've got that bit in place, and we want that sort of gap like that, you kind of have to hold it with your one dodgy hand like that. You get your super glue, you don't super glue your fingers, but you just want enough that it actually absorbs into that, and then just hold it in place. It will sizzle and make weird noises even though it's just super glue. I think that's enough super glue. This is the time where you kind of freak out, think you haven't got enough super glue. Put a little bit more super glue on it. And you usually put too much super glue and then it drips everywhere. I don't think my fingers are stuck to it right now. But you hold it there for about 20-30 seconds. It seems to be held. There we go. That is it. That is how you glue one rock to another rock. So if you see a little bit of tissue paper like that, you can put a little bit of sand and a little bit more super glue, and then that'll just hide that sort of mark, well, that white sort of thing. But that is gluing one rock to another rock, and it should be strong enough. There we go. to hold like that. So you want it sturdy enough that it doesn't break when you try and pull it apart. So you might just have to experiment a few times with how much tissue paper to use, how much glue to use. Maybe wear gloves so that you don't glue your fingers to the rocks because it is super glue. But that is fully fused in place now. So that is as simple as it gets. And a few hours later, well actually this is the end of the day because I've worked a full day. I have been gluing rocks randomly throughout the day. That is where we are at the moment. So we've got rocks glued to rocks, obviously, and it's all exactly the same way with your super glue and your tissue paper. Everything is all in place. The whole idea of this, as I was saying just before, was water getting pumped up, and that is our tiny pump. Isn't that cute? That is a very small pump. I have seen tinier ones, but that is pretty small. Little USB, as I said, and there is the plug. That's an Australian plug, but I'm sure overseas you'll get them in overseas plugs. That is going to fit in our corner down there, and hopefully the water going up through the nostril. I've glued a few rocks, the same sort of thing with the tissue paper onto this, so hopefully the water won't jet straight out over there. It might. But I think I can put like an airline tap on that and turn it down anyway. So, you know, it's not the end of the work. But I have glued a few rocks around that so that you can see just a nozzle coming out through that hole and trickling down. Now, if I was more sensible and I realized what I was doing, I probably wouldn't have glued it to the back. I would have had it underneath this rock and down there. But we did that before we did this. So, you know, I don't think it's going to be a huge problem because depending on the angle and what plants and wood I have there, I can easily hide that tubing. So as you probably saw in the start of the video, and again, I haven't seen the finished product right now, it probably is impossible to see that anyway. So that is where we are. Our next step after gluing all our rocks and stuff like that is to find a whole lot of very cool twigs. These are little bits of golden vine, and we're going to figure out more of our hardscape and how we want these all sort of sitting up. So it looks like it's sort of coming out of a swamp. I don't know what it's going to look like, but it's going to look like there's lots of structure and stuff for plants and all that. We're going to glue all those on that and jump to that bit. So it gets to the point where you have to kind of make your own fun. Yes, what turned out to be sort of like a normal everyday thing got really, really weird. So yes, definitely got a Last of Us vibe to it. Obviously there's no mushrooms and stuff growing out of this. I probably could use spores. That would be kind of creepy. No, I'm not going to do that. Maybe I will do that. No, maybe in another video. Maybe I'll just buy one of those mushroom kits and put the spores over it. If you think that's a good idea, comment down below. Let's jump to the build. Oh look, I made things. So not only did I do the weird, it sort of looks like a dog skull now, doesn't it? I think in comparison size-wise to the human skull. Oh, by the way, I did a human skull one as well. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it looks more dog than it does dinosaur. But that is where we are. We have our pump in there. Next thing we're going to do is fill our water up and see if the water jets across the room. It may, I have no idea. Or if it just trickles down there like we want it to. So I was going to put the substrate in, then turn it on and see what happened. But I've decided to be sensible. And we have our water in there. The moment of truth, I'm going to plug it in. It is turned on. That's not too bad, I think, if I... Oh, look at that. That's practically perfect. Oh, it's sort of splashing over there a little bit. I think as the water decides to absorb a little bit into the rocks and stuff, it's going to sort of trickle down. That's not too bad. And I think that is on medium setting. If setting is a thing, it is medium. That kind of worked. Wow, okay. You can now copy what I do. Now, what we're going to do with this one, and that one, for example, is we're going to put our substrate in. I'm going to put the substrate in, then I think I'm going to put the rock work and that on top. And because it is all glued together, and you have to be careful when you glue stuff, because this is the time where you drop it and it just disintegrates. You have to make sure that your super glue is holding perfectly. So you can just lift the whole thing up like that. So you ever need to clean it or anything like that, you can just take the whole thing out. If you want a bigger tank, you can put it into a bigger tank, because that would look kind of awesome in a bigger tank. We're going to substrate, and then we're going to look at plants. And I've gone with Aqua Earth, which is an active plant substrate. So it is a little pelletized ball, which is made of volcanic clay. They bake it so it doesn't produce any ammonia or nitrates once it's in the water. So you can pretty much just fill it up with established water, and then you can plant straight away. So we're just going to wet the substrate, have a little bit of water above it, like maybe about 1 centimeter or so, which is pretty much this whole tank because it's so tiny. But we're going to put our water above that, and then we're going to do our planting. So we're using tissue culture plants. This is dwarf hair grass. Obviously, it is a grass that looks like hair. It is a fine aquatic grass. It will grow a little bit out of the water as well. So if it's humid enough, which it kind of really isn't in here, unfortunately, you can actually get it growing out of the water, which would look super, super cool as well. So we're going to probably do a few marginal plants around these. And I've also got this stuff, this Cuba, which is a small foreground plant. So we're just going to do little tufts of hair grass, some hemianthus around it. Exactly the same in this one, just less obviously. But we are now going to open those and plant our plants. So at this stage, don't stress about the toothpicks, because they will go dark, dark brown and eventually just disintegrate in there. But they're going to expand a little bit, which holds all the plants in place. So they're just going to be loosely sort of stuck in there and just, yeah, they'll disappear over time. So that is our planting done. So it doesn't matter if you have little gaps, because they will fill up obviously over time, as you can see with this overgrown tank here. So eventually it's just going to be a full carpet of plants. We are going to grab a few taller plants for around the side and the back, fill them up with water, and go from there. And we have finished. Hoorah! I was going to add some extra plants and stuff along the side, but I've decided not to, because sometimes less is more in these builds. My dinosaur skull is kind of looking more and more like a dog, but it is kind of doing the job. My drip is just perfect now. So this is probably about 3 or 4 days later. Everything is sort of starting to settle in. We've got our hair grass doing its hair grassy thing. It's starting to break the surface of the water. We've got our Monte Carlo just starting to carpet, which is lovely, in Mrs. Skull, and we've decided she's a she. We have the same thing happening. So we have a little tiny bit of Barcopa there, and we have some just growing at the back of that one. Hopefully they will get nice and big and look super, super awesome. We have all our spiky bits. It is definitely got this Last of Us vibe to it. Well, I think it does anyway. But there we are. So that was as simple as it was to make those. Obviously you can go as crazy as you want to go. You can add mosses and all sorts of stuff. I thought I'd just leave them nice and simple, because they're a very, very easy build. But if you would like me to make more of these videos, click the thumbs up so I know. That will encourage me to do crazy, crazy stuff. Ha! As if I need encouragement. But otherwise, thank you very, very much for watching. If you want to see some more videos, click that thing. If you want to subscribe, click that thing. And there's another video there. We will see you in the next one. Bye!